Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. I'm Gilles Gallant and I'm joined by Evan Abrams each and every week. He's our research director here at the Action Network. Now we're going to dive into all the Sunday NFL action for week 5. Brandon Anderson is going to have his hot reads later in the show. And Patrick Everson from Vegas Insider will give us an update on the sportsbooks of Vegas and how they fared this NFL Sunday. But first, we got to talk Monday Night Football, Evan. We got to look at Packers-Raiders. Raiders hosting the Packers. Raiders are right now 2-point favorites, over-under at 44.5. And when I'm looking at this matchup, Evan, first thing I look at is there's a ton of injuries still on the Packers side, especially on defense. Now, cornerback Jair Alexander, he did have limited practice each day this week, but he is expected to be back, and they're going to need him if they're going to have Devontae Adams out there for the Raiders. He's another one who was dinged up as well, but I think he will play as well. But the Packers just coming off that tough loss for the Lions. I mean, if Jordan Love can avoid some turnovers, I think they could probably win this game outright. But honestly, if we got to talk about turnovers and what Jordan Love has done, we got to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, who is expected back in the lineup, but he has 6 interceptions in 3 games. And it should be interesting to see how he looks, because I thought Aiden O'Connell looked pretty good last week against the Chargers. Now, they did fall short, lost 24-17, but the Chargers also have a habit of making a lot of quarterbacks look pretty good. But yeah, offensively, I'm just not sure, Evan, if the Raiders are going to be much better than what we've already seen so far, even with Jimmy in the lineup. I mean, so far, all through 4 games, we've seen 17 points, 10 points, 18 points, 17 points, and this Packers defense is a little bit better. They are going to have some injuries, but again, I'm looking at this right now. I think if I had to bet a side here, I'd be looking at the Packers. What are you seeing on your end so far?
Health and consistency is kind of the issue at the moment, right? Like, I think from both sides, Packers injuries, and then from the Raiders' point of view, just like you said, they're not scoring points any week. So it's just, for me, a little bit difficult to actually pick a side. Even the line movement, right? Like, Green Bay was favored, then it was Vegas minus 2.5 for a few minutes, back to 2, now 1.5. So I don't even think anyone really has a good idea of which side is the right side. The one thing I'll look at is, some first touchdown, I'll do Musgrave and Mayer. I kind of like the tight ends in this game. I think, Love lack of turnovers, hopefully, after that Detroit game. A little bit of a roller coaster with a younger quarterback. So I think Musgrave and Mayer, probably a decent look, and a fun trend that's actually done pretty well this year. When both teams are on extended rest, which is usually these Monday night games in most situations, unders 92, 47 and 1, 66% since 2018. It's actually 16-5 this year already. So usually when more rest, especially with these types of teams, interesting, up from 43.5 to 45.5. So, if it even got up to a 46, I'd probably like it even more. But I think that's probably the right way I'd take it.
Yeah, and I think another thing, too, is I don't know how many people really want to be betting Jimmy G when he's getting points as opposed to, Jordan Love here in an underdog spot. They didn't cover last week against the Lions, but historically he's 4-1 or 3-1 rather against the spread. And then of course Matt LaFleur as an underdog, another one that has historically done well. So I'd be looking at on that side. But yeah, I know what you mean from that the total. I think though there are a couple touchdown scores though that I would look at. I think I would be immediately looking at Jacoby Myers for the Raiders, especially because he's gotten 26 targets in 3 games. Really been a bit of a safety blanket for Jimmy G through these games. And again, as I alluded to, if Jair Alexander is playing, he's likely going to be shadowing Devontae Adams as much as possible. So you could bet on Devontae at even odds. I still like him to score in a revenge spot, but that's who I would look at as Jacoby Myers around that plus 200 range. But Jordan Love would probably be as well on the Packers side, who I'd be looking at. I'd still play him around 5-1, but I mean, I hit on him last week at 5-1 versus the Lions. He's shown, when it's goal to go, he's not really afraid to tuck and run. He has 2 red zone carries, both of them for touchdowns. And, Aaron Jones, he's still nursing a bit of an injury. A.J. Dillon, his yards per carry is less than 3, I imagine. And the Raiders defense is bottom 10 in rush yards allowed per game. I mean, Justin Herbert ran for 2 touchdowns on them last week. So that's what I'd be looking at for Raiders and Packers. But we got to immediately talk about Sunday Night Football. Just wrapped up between the Cowboys and the 49ers. 49ers win 42-10. cover very easily as 3.5-point home favorites. And the over does hit at 45. That last touchdown from Jordan Mason and the field goal as well helped send that over. And Evan, the 49ers have now covered the spread in 10 consecutive home games dating back to last year.
Yeah, that streak of 10 is the longest for them, and I looked this up, even going to 9 since 1960. So we haven't seen a streak like this for the Niners at home in a long, long time, and they've been playing so well. We actually talked about this before we went on air. The thing, you look right at the box score when you look at tonight, and the thing that pops out, 25 first downs for San Francisco,
So
8 to Dallas, which is just absolutely crazy. It just never felt like they were even in the game. And the interceptions from Dak were late, right? It was mostly second half, mostly coming back. They just couldn't find any rhythm. Like, the thing I kept thinking about watching this game is how Dallas beat the Giants like 40-0. And this is the performance
and the
that you're
Jets,
looking. Yeah, it's just such a crazy
coming off
thing.
that Patriots win. Yeah.
But listen, Niners have hit 30 points in every game this year. 6 straight games of 30-plus points. So 30-plus points in 8 straight games, the longest streak for an NFC team since the Greatest Show on Turf did it in 14. So 14 straight. Just, they're really going
and
on
an opening drive
run.
score. Opening drive score in 5 straight games too. And honestly, that was really what kind of sealed it in a way, because it was the worst first quarter you could ask for the Cowboys. 2 3-and-outs, and then a Tony Pollard fumble. And you mentioned, just looking at the box score, 3rd down. It was just the death of the Cowboys. They could not get off the field. The Niners were 6-9 on 3rd down, multiple times where they had the Niners basically turned over. They're going to punt the ball, late penalty, and then they go down and score a touchdown as a result. And that just basically killed the Cowboys. You could look at the 3 interceptions in the second half from Dak. A lot of that was when they were already down multiple scores. I'm not going to say they were good decisions. I'm not going to endorse the unsolicited Dak pick that seems to be coming every week, or at least in weeks where the Cowboys just implode upon themselves. But I think we do have to give credit to that 49ers defense. They were just incredible today. Fred Warner was everywhere. 2 sacks, forced fumble. Dre Greenlaw was knocking guys around. And I think really just what we saw is that the Cowboys proved that they are nowhere near close to the Niners level.
Not at all. I think the one thing as well, like, you want to talk about like gambling storylines, especially after this game going forward. Hard not to talk about Brock for MVP, which is just a wild story. I believe opened the year at 50-1. Now at some shops 9-1, 8-1, even 7-1. So it's Mahomes, Tua, Allen, Hurts, and Purdy at most books. So I mean, he's not making mistakes. He threw, I believe, 4 touchdown passes tonight. So it's just on a roll. The one thing I will say going forward, which I think is kind of interesting, San Francisco at Cleveland next week. Line's down to 3. I think it's a great spot for Cleveland. I would always look at, team off the, emotional game, won by a ton of points, come back to the mean on some level. So, and Cleveland's defense is something, Brock probably hasn't seen. So I do kind of like that number.
Yeah, and no interceptions for Brock either yet this year. I think he should be close to the favorite, and was plus 5,000 preseason. So this ass whooping by the 49ers to the Cowboys is definitely something that I won't be keeping as a long-term memory. But Evan, more memories are made when you're there for live NFL action. And when you need tickets, our friends at Ticketmaster have got you covered. As the official marketplace of the NFL, Ticketmaster gives you more ways to find your perfect seat. Their interactive seat map gives you 360-degree previews of your section to make sure you have the best view of those pivotal plays. And if your plans change, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell or transfer your tickets. Plus, mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze, and you can even customize your Ticketmaster app to rep your team's colors. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/NFL. All right, now it's time for the hot read from our own Brandon Anderson, who's coming off another 2-0 week with ATS wins from the Steelers and the Eagles. Brandon, what do you have for us looking at early Week 6 lines?
All right, it's time for the Week 6 hot read. Quick recap. We went to Pennsylvania last week. We hit Pittsburgh. We hit Philadelphia. We're now 7-1 on the year for the hot read. For Week 6, I'm going to start out with the Seahawks +3 in Cincinnati. Grabbing this right now because I want that key number, the +3. I actually think Seattle might be the favorite in this game. Seattle right now, coming into Sunday, top half of the league in offensive DVOA and defensive DVOA and special teams. That's everything. That includes top 10 offensively running and passing the football, both parts. And that is despite they've been missing both their tackles for most of the season. The secondary has been missing 3 of the top 5 players much of the season. Seattle did not play on Sunday. They're on the bye this week. So I think we have a good chance to get the Seahawks healthy here, get some of those bodies back into the lineup. And it should be impressive to us that the Seahawks have been this good even without some of those guys. So Bengals did play Sunday. They beat up on the Cardinals, but we knew the Cardinals defense is bad. Seattle's defense ranks 13th by DVOA coming into the week, and that's third against the run too. So I think Seattle can at least hang here. Joe Burrow did not just magically find the elixir and he's all healthy and good to go. So I think Seattle hangs with the Bengals here, maybe comes away with the win. Don't forget, even before this Arizona game today, Cincinnati was bottom 10 offense and defense by DVOA. So I think it's a nice spot for the Seahawks. Geno Smith is 20, 13, and 2 against the spread as an underdog, 61%. Pete Carroll, 61% as a dog as well. So I like Seattle. I like them outright. I'll play the key number here at +3. And then for the second hot read for week 6, going back to one we grabbed on the look ahead, I'm going to double down. I want to make sure you got it. Give me the Indianapolis Colts +5.5 in Jacksonville. This is a spot that I've had circled since the schedule came out. This morning, we all watched the Jaguars beat the Buffalo Bills. And I think that kept this line a little high here, but what happened in that game? Buffalo was missing its top 2 corners. They got a safety plan hurt. Matt Milano, one of the best cover linebackers in the league, gets hurt. He's out long term. Jacksonville is eating over the middle. Buffalo is missing multiple defensive linemen. Jacksonville has a London rest advantage too. They've been in London 2 weeks in a row. Buffalo comes in, has all those injuries, still almost wins the game. Jacksonville holds on to win by 5. They got big issues on the offensive line. Press Taylor, the play caller, still not calling things great for Jacksonville. And why did this spot get circled by me? So now we have the opposite. Jacksonville had the rest advantage in London. Now we have something we've literally never seen in NFL history. Jacksonville comes back to the States after 2 weeks in London. What's that do to your bodies to come back after 2 weeks and not have a bye week, immediately play a game? We don't know, but we know that even coming back from 1 week overseas and playing a game hasn't gone well. It's happened 11 times in NFL history. Just happened today with the Falcons. Atlanta won the game, but they need a late comeback. And that is now 11 for 11, 100% of teams that played in London and returned without a bye week that trailed or were tied in the fourth quarter. Remember, Houston took the lead and almost beat the Falcons before that late comeback there. So Colts are probably going to score in this game. Jacksonville's defense, typically the defenses are tired out in a spot like this coming home from London. And we have a double down here. We have 2 weeks in London. We've never seen this before, but this is a spot that I've had circled on the schedule. We want to get these points. Honestly, I think the Colts might just be better. We probably are going to get Gardner Minshew in this game. I don't mind it. Gardner Minshew is ready to play. He probably opens up the pass attack for this team a little more. And don't forget, a bit of a revenge spot here against Jacksonville. So I like that too. Jonathan Taylor's back. Shane Steichen pulling some strings, setting Indianapolis up well. And it's a good spot to bet against Trevor Lawrence too. He's only 3-7 against the spread when favored 30%. And that includes 0-5 when he's favored by 4 or more. And in those 5 games, 1-4 straight up. So I think that the Colts have a chance to win here. Home field disadvantage, really. The Colts are the team that has less travel to do. The Jaguars are the one in the big disadvantage spot. So give me Colts +5.5. That line's already starting to move. Grab those points while you can. Week 6 hot reads. Indianapolis Colts +5.5 in Jacksonville. Seattle Seahawks +3 at Cincinnati.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Now, Evan, let's start looking at the Sunday action. Favorites go 7-5 straight up, 6-6 against the spread. Another under week. Totals go 8-4. only week 2 with a big week for overs, but let's talk about some of those public sides. How did they do today, Evan?
Yeah, so strictly from a public side point of view, pretty crazy. 7 of the top 8, especially from the Action Network percentages, ended up covering today. So Miami, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Indy, KC, Jets, Cincinnati, San Francisco. Those are the sides. 7 of the 8 covered. So pretty good situation there. And actually pretty wild here. 42, 27, and 3 against the spread. That's a best 5-game start since 2009 for the public. So really good start to the year. Some of those big, percentages for the public sides tend to be coming through right now. But the other thing you talked about, unders. So 8-4 today. And here's a stat that kind of blows me away, especially week-to-week betting. So in the last 23 regular season weeks, there have only been 3 where there have been more overs than unders for full game totals. So 3 overs, 13 unders, 7 pushes. So we just really haven't seen a consistent overstretch in a really good long time.
Well, one game where we saw the public win very handily from a side standpoint, but again, another under, was the Chiefs-Vikings, where the Chiefs win 27-20. Chiefs cover as 3.5-point favorites, but the 52.5 does fall short, mainly because the Vikings just lose another one-score game. I think that we thought they were going to be able to drive the field to be able to get it to a 27 all game where overbettors would be able to cash. But again, this is the Vikings we're talking about, and all of their games are decided by at least one score. Now 1-4 this season, and Kirk Cousins and the Vikings, I think this is the more story that we should be talking about, is that they are now 2-9 against the spread just in their last 11 games overall.
Yeah, I mean, to me, looking at the game, looking how it played, I don't really like to talk about moral victories, especially for a 1-4 team, but Minnesota played well. Like, they really stayed in the game. Their efficiency on third down, everything is pretty even when you look at how they matched up against Kansas City. So, and also, I think we should mention the Justin Jefferson injury. Not great. Could miss some
That's the
time.
moral loss, is what I would call
Yeah.
that. Instead of a moral
Yeah.
victory, like you walk away with that, he might be out for a couple of games.
Not
Not
good.
to cut you off, but I mean, the Vikings did have their chances. I mean, they went
They did.
for it on 4th and 12 with 5 minutes to go. They were in KC red zone. I didn't love the play call. They did get called for a delay of game, but I do respect the call because you're not going to beat KC with field goals, and they couldn't convert. So underbettors obviously hit. Chiefs bettors obviously hit there as well. But some of the key injuries in this game, like Justin Jefferson leaving midway through the third quarter, I thought was a big loss for the Vikings as far as the way that they were able to move the ball. And even Travis Kelce, I thought he was done in the first half, limping off the field, didn't look good. I remember I wrote it down in my notes, didn't look good, non-contact injury, could be out for a couple of games.
Yeah.
Instead, we started seeing him in the second half with his helmet on, and all I just have to say is Toradol is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, listen, came back swiftly is what we heard from people. So, but listen, when it came to Kelce,
Oh, man.
but honestly, when it comes to Kelce, you heard high ankle sprain, you heard non-contact, and then all of a sudden he's back on the field. So, I mean,
I thought
the
you were going to
thing-
say groin injury or something like that.
no, not going there. But I will say this: without Kelce, man, that Chiefs offense is. I mean, they already look a little out of sync. But if he would have missed time, that would not be good. Especially, I mean, listen, they got Denver coming up on a short week, so if there was an issue there, maybe he doesn't play on that. But he came back, so I think everything's fine. The one fun stat, at least from an anti-Minnesota point of view, which seems to be a theme, so Cousins is now 10-24-1 straight up versus teams with a 75% win percentage, including 4-13-1 with the Vikings. He's just not beating good teams. Like every time you see them in like a dog situation where you're like, they score a lot of points, should stay close, 1-score game, they just don't win them. So, and the stat with Mahomes on the road is crazy. 25-5 straight up now as a road neutral favorite of over a field goal. So he just almost never loses in this spot.
All right, Bengals Cardinals. Bengals win 34-20. Bengals cover as 3-point favorites. The over-under at 44.5 goes way over. Thank you to the Bengals, who finally look normal again to their offense. Joe Burrow moves to 20-10-1 against the spread on the road now in his career, even though they are 1-2 against the spread this year. Still very impressive numbers here by Joe Burrow and that offense.
I really only have 3 notes here. The Burrow A-Dot seemed to get better this week. He was throwing downfield. Now a lot of that is going to be Chase. I believe Chase had like 15 targets or even more than that. So, especially without Higgins, he's looking to him, and especially after Chase talked and said all week that, give me the ball, show me the ball, all these things. Well, it ended up working. So maybe it's an Arizona thing. Maybe it's something they can move forward with. But Cincinnati will play Seattle in Cincinnati next week, with Seattle off of a bye. So a little bit of an interesting spot there. And if I look right now, it's Cincinnati -3. So just, the basic home field advantage at home. What else did I have here? The only thing is Arizona turnovers. Like, Bengals are still under 5 yards per play. So they did look good. They did score points. They did get Chase back and looking good, but still under 5 yards per play. Not great. So we'll see how it looks against Seattle with some time.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow still got sacked a few times in this game, but most importantly, they came out sharp. Both halves, scoring touchdowns immediately with Jamar Chase. And this Cardinals team, even though it eventually fell apart, it still looked like that team that is still fighting right up until midway through the third quarter. They just kind of got rolled over there by the Bengals in the second half, who finally looked like the Bengals for the first time this year. And it was really the Josh Dobbs interception. It was his first interception of the year. It was so costly. It was a big swing, pick 6 for the Bengals. And, they're hosting the Seahawks next week. And I think a lot of people are going to be back on the Bengals bandwagon because of how they looked. And, Brandon Anderson, we just heard him on the hot read. He's looking at Seattle automatically. But, I mean, of the Bengals, this is the kind of spot where if they can get to 3-3 straight up and then have their bye in week 7, really dodged a major bullet here to be able to go into the second half of the year kind of the way that we're used to seeing the Bengals. Let's talk about another AFC North match, AFC North teams, though. The most Steelers-Ravens game you could ask for between Ravens and Steelers, where the Steelers win 17-10. Ravens as 4.5-point favorites lose outright, and the under still hits. It's such an AFC North game. Lamar Jackson now 0-4 against the spread in his career versus the Steelers, and the rah-rah Tomlin spot, it comes through like as if it was just meant to be. 18-5-3 against the spread now as a home dog in his career. When he's an underdog versus the AFC North, 23-8-2 against the spread.
Yeah, craziness. So the underdogs covered now 12 straight in this rivalry, 16-1-1 against the spread. The underdog is since 2015. And I said it earlier on Convince Me Sunday morning that I was on. It was part of my notes because it really just kind of shocking to me. So Lamar's only faced them 4 times. So it feels like, all the time he's been in the league, he was Tyler Huntley for 3 starts. And when that number was over 4.5, and you were looking at how bad Pittsburgh had looked, their offense, their line, everything wasn't lining up, and they found a way. Like, even early, 10-0, I believe it was, for Baltimore, and you said to yourself,
"Oh,
well,
it was awful."
Yeah, you just said to yourself, Baltimore was the right side. Everything's looking good here. The Justice Hill run, like they everything seemed on target. Everything seemed in sync. And then second half adjustments, and I believe there was a Lamar turnover, and it just didn't end up looking pretty. So interesting when it comes to that. But I think the one thing going forward, Steelers have a bye. So really emotional game that, they're probably lucky they got the win. And now Baltimore goes to Tennessee. So that's a really crazy matchup where you're going to get 4 points with Vrabel next week, it looks like right now. And it was even as high as about 5.5. So
I think we need to talk a little bit more about how the Steelers won this game, because I could not believe that Lamar Jackson threw an interception in the end zone to the Steelers. This was 10-3. They're about to score. It's about to be a 17-3 game. And the Steelers, in spite of Kenny Pickett, because he has looked like trash the entire game, he really only made one big play. He made a couple of plays to George Pickens, but that one big touchdown play. But they get a block punt for a safety. Then they get the goal line interception. They get a field goal out of that. They hold the Ravens to a 3-and-out, and then the Pickett's touchdown to seal it. It was just such a gross game from Kenny Pickett. I could not believe that they were able to win that game, because there's a drive here or there where he just looks so overwhelmed. There's a few quarterbacks like that. Bryce Young, we'll talk about that like in a little bit. I mean, in fairness, he doesn't have a ton of weapons. No Deontay. Freiermuth was out today. I was almost saying in my notes before they won that I would rather have Mitch Trubisky out there, and I still kind of feel that way, even though they won the game.
I mean,
All right,
yeah.
let's move on. Let's talk Jaguars Bills. I don't want to talk anymore about Ravens Steelers. Let's talk about Jaguars Bills because this game was fun in a way that the public actually took it a little bit on the chin here because the Jags were able to win as quote unquote road dogs, even though they're hosting in London. They win 25-20 with the total going under, and the under is now hit in the last 6 Jaguars games in London. So keep that in mind when they go back to London next year. And Doug Peterson moves to 31-23 and gets a spread as an underdog.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier with the public sides. This was the one that didn't go, didn't work out. Everyone was on Buffalo, and that was the one dudder for the week. But listen, the Jaguars, some sort of road warrior in them. 7 straight road neutral games against the spread they've won, dating back to last season. They tend to be, pretty decent in this spot. And even early, right? 11-7 Jags. So I think the back-to-back London thing, we were all trying to figure out exactly what that was going to mean. Probably a little bit of an advantage for Jacksonville while Buffalo's coming over. So that's something, that in the future, with that happening, especially we also talk about it the other way, right? With the no rest off of London. I think the back-to-back in London probably helps. And also no Tre'Davious White, now the Matt Milano injury. Buffalo
injuries.
Yeah, Buffalo allowed a 4.9 yards per rush today, so not good. ETN was all over the place.
And the run game for the Bills did not work at all today.
Oh.
They can be limited offensively when they're not running the ball. And the Jaguars getting up early and getting that quick lead really put the Bills kind of like in catch-up mode. They felt like they were not running the ball at all on first and second down. And you'd look at Josh Allen's stats and you're like, wow, you finished okay. But most of those was gained in the fourth quarter when they were trailing.
That's fair.
Had they just gone with those extra points, instead of trying to go for 2 on both of those touchdown scores, they actually would have been down by 3 and could have potentially tied the game maybe on a game-tying field goal. But look, the Jaguars just match up well with the Bills, and that's been my contention with the Bills. Really, is that there's just a handful of teams. They may not ever see them in the playoffs, but there's just a handful of teams in the NFL that just match up really well with the Bills and will give them fits, and the Jaguars are one of them.
Yeah, but you nailed it. The run game for Buffalo, which we had always talked about as something they needed to fix, especially as, that was part of the reason sometimes they had failed in certain big games. 14 rushes for 29 yards. Just ain't going to do it. And again, you put the ball with Josh Allen and, he does find his way into mistakes. I believe it's been like 2 years or, 18 months since he's had back-to-back games without a turnover. It's just kind of who he is.
Well, let's talk about a team that has the run game on point, and that's the Eagles, who went on the road to play the Rams. The Eagles win 23-14, cover as 4-point favorites. Under, though, 50.5, one of the higher totals of the week, went under fairly comfortably, especially in the second half where defenses started to tighten up. But now Jalen Hurts has won 22 of his last 23 regular season starts. He just is winning, and I think I would say this is a signature win. I felt like the first 4 games left a lot to be desired from what the Eagles were throwing out there, but this felt like a heavyweight bout to start off, especially with Cooper Kupp back making plays. The Rams just looked really explosive, him and Nakua making plays here, but the Eagles just moved the ball so easily. The Hurts tush push with 2 seconds to go in the first half gets that 17-14 lead. I know their defense got scored on a bit, but to me, like I said, I think this was easily the Eagles' best game of the year.
Yeah, now you have the race for the undefeateds. A bunch of people laying those bets in the preseason. You've got the Eagles at 5-0. You've got the 49ers at 5-0. So week to week, that's something to check on. But when it comes to this game, so 6 teams have lost a Super Bowl and now opened up 5-0, so the 49ers can join that list. And you mentioned it. Jalen Hurts just always ends up finding a way. 26-5 straight up as a favorite. 26-3 straight up when the Eagles are favored by 3 points or more. He just doesn't lose in this spot. And I think the encouraging thing from the Rams' point of view, getting Cooper Kupp back, also massive. And also you look at the target share, it's nice. Puka got his, Kupp got his. There were some targets to Higbee. There was some stuff to Atwell. Just nice spread around. I think Stafford honestly played well. The one thing, and here's a trend that has continued, so Stafford now, and this was bad because I believe they got shut out in the second half of this game after, they were around pretty early. Yeah, 2-12-1 against the second half spread since the start of last season for Stafford. 19-38-2 second half ATS. So he's one of the worst quarterbacks historically, and recently it just hasn't been there. So something to look forward to with them going forward there. At home, they're actually in the middle of 3 straight home games. So this was the first leg. Then you've got Arizona and Pittsburgh at home for the Rams. So let's see if they can try to find their way back.
All right, let's run through the rest of these games. Some of them are duds, some of them weren't too bad, but let's look at Titans Colts. Colts win 23-16, win over the Titans, who were favored as 2.5-point favorites, and the under also hits at the 43. And the Colts, surprisingly, break a 5-game losing streak, straight up and against the spread to the Titans. I think the big takeaway from this, though, is that Anthony Richardson got hurt again, shoulder injury. They still managed to win. Minshew, fairly serviceable, I would probably argue, is the best backup quarterback in the NFL. But, I mean, I said this in week 2 when Anthony Richardson got hurt. Dual threat quarterbacks, they're not meant to last. You have to gravitate back towards the pocket, and still playing like a rookie, maybe a little bit too reckless. But this was the Zach Moss game. I know Jonathan Taylor probably stole most of the headlines, but Zach Moss pretty much ran over this Titans defense that was pretty good against the run coming into this game, ranked top 5 in a lot of metrics as far as stopping the run. But the fact that the Titans were in scoring position where they could have potentially tied the game, and the Colts run defense stuffed Derrick Henry on 4th down, that was pretty much the game. Let's go to Jets Broncos. Jets win 31-21 in the Hackett Revenge Bowl. Total at the over-under 43.5. Total goes way over. One of the biggest takeaways for me, man, and again, this is a selfish thing from my POV, is I just cannot stop watching Jaleel McLaughlin. Jaleel McLaughlin, again, has another first touchdown, 3rd of the season. So now, if you had bet Jaleel McLaughlin for a 1 unit for first touchdown in every game this year, you'd be up 70 units in profit, which to me, again, he cannot be less than plus 1,000 or more than plus 1,000 now going forward. Like right now, this is too much of a trend. The Broncos are using him too much now on early downs and success. And from a Jets perspective, Breece Hall, more touches. Pays off. He has a big 72-yard touchdown, and there's a last-minute fumble 6 by Russell Wilson that sent this total over. So no matter what number you had for the total, that fumble 6 is pretty much what sealed
and honestly,
the deal.
Zach looked better than Russ in this game, making some key throws while Russ
Wilson on Wilson slander.
Yeah. But honestly, it was crazy. In the pocket, Russ was it was way too long, taking too many sacks, while Zach was getting it out faster. It was, kind of insane to see.
All right, Texans, Falcons. Falcons win 21-19. Total goes under, and they do cover as 1.5-point favorites. Desmond Ridder now 5-0 straight up at home and 26-0 in college. I don't really care about the college aspect of it, but it is still mind-boggling to me for how bad of a quarterback he is that they are still 5-0 straight up in home starts for him. But I think BetMGM should offer a new market is, when is CJ Stroud going to throw an interception? Because he is still playing like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Because in my opinion, he couldn't really do anything today, but quarterbacks have those days, where it's not going anywhere. But that game-winning drive, he put them in position to win in the 4th quarter. And Bijan Robinson, he did score a touchdown, but he had a fumble in this game too. I think it's pretty clear right now CJ Stroud has to be the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I will say there was a little bit of a betting travesty here at the end of this game when the Falcons, they could have went for a touchdown to cover if they were at 2.5-point favorites, or to even seal the over. But instead,
closed 2.5
kneels, and the Falcons take the field goal to win. So that London trend of them coming back from London, they do not cover the spread as a result. So that is in play. And now the Jags are coming back this week to play the Colts. So keep that in mind for the Colts-Jags game next week. And Brandon Anderson already mentioned that with the hot read. Giants-Dolphins. Dolphins win 31-16. Dolphins cover as 12.5-point favorites, and the under 47.5 hits. Tua Tagovailoa now 14-5 against the spread at home. We've got the Panthers next week. I mean, they might be favored by 20, by kickoff, at this stage. The Giants really, they did everything they could. The defense specifically did everything they could to try and cover for the Giants. 2 picks from Tua. One of them was a pick six. But this lack of protection for Daniel Jones is getting a bit out of hand now. He was sacked 6 times today. He's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Now he's in concussion protocol. He's likely going to miss the next game against the Bills because that's how the concussion protocol works now. They got to go through these 5 steps of recovery, and more often than not, it takes more than a full week before they get there. And the Dolphins, they did what they do. Devin Achane, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it doesn't matter because he is scoring so many touchdowns right now. He looks like a top 3 running back in the NFL. Of course, you see the normal Tyreek Hill 70-yard touchdown because the Giants are stupid and still play man coverage on a player like Tyreek Hill.
Here's one for you.
What was funny, though, is that – yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to say, so for A-Chain, I believe he has the 2nd most rushing yards this year and like the 35th most attempts. So he's doing some wild stuff down there.
Oh, yeah, it's like 150 yards on 5 attempts. It's incredible right now. He just looks like O.J. Simpson in his prime, just running like in these offenses here. And I just wanted to mention that we probably will see Tyrod Taylor next week, so there is potential for a Buffalo Bills revenge game. But he did have a chance to maybe even get the Giants to the Dolphins 26, tried to scramble, didn't really get there. But, yeah, he could have almost sent this game over and covered for the Giants if he had just made it happen. And, it's Tyrod Taylor, so that's why it didn't happen. Panthers-Lions. Lions win fairly easy, 42-24, cover as 9.5-point home favorites. The over 43.5 also hits. Jared Goff now 19-8 against the spread at home since 2020. That's the most profitable quarterback in the NFL in that stretch. You will need to wait until week 8 when they come home again versus the Raiders to look at that angle. But I mentioned this earlier. Bryce Young just looks so little out there. He looks like a freshman in high school playing varsity. And there were 2 picks. One of them was not his fault. I don't really want to blame him on the Aiden Hutchinson pick, but at the same time, it looked very egregious on his part. Every pass completion just looked hard, like to make happen. And the offensive line didn't really do him any favors. All right, let's end it on this one. Saints-Patriots. Saints win 34-0. Patriots as home favorites do not cover. They lose outright and don't even put up any points to even help any type of over bettors because the under hits at 34 total points with the over-under of 39. This Patriots offense now has scored only 58 points in 5 games this year. They've only scored 3 points over their last 2 games. This was a brutal watch if you're a Pats fan, or in Evan's case, this is a hilarious time because you've been preying on the Pats' demise. And
Correct.
2 more Mac Jones interceptions, mistakes on 3rd down, fumbles. We see a Bailey Zappi appearance again. I'm just going to say this because you're the trend guy. You like to bring up a lot of these trends. The whole Pats Belichick betting trend premium, it's over. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want any trends that involving Bill Belichick to me are done. So him as a dog, him off a loss, his team's off games where the quarterback has 10 interceptions. Like, I don't want to hear them. They're done. Are we going to finally see Bailey Zappi to save whatever is left of this Patriots season?
So I'll have a caveat with that. I believe any Belichick stat, trend, whatever, is done as long as Mac Jones is the quarterback. Like, at the current moment, I think he trumps anything that Bill can do. And I think we saw it today with New Orleans. And listen, I believe, I don't know if this is updated yet, but I think they've scored the fewest points in the NFL. I believe they're last at the moment going into week 5 because they were second to last, and Cincinnati and the Giants both scored. So maybe the Giants and them are really close at the bottom at 31-32, but it's been so bad, and I just can't believe that they're not willing to at least take a look at someone else, right? At this point, I mean, next week they've got the Raiders. So at that point, and then they've got Buffalo. So if they're not going to figure it out with the Raiders, they sure as heck don't want to figure it out with Buffalo. So they've got to make a move at some point, or I'm just going to win all my bets.
Yeah, well, the Patriots are going to probably be in the C, D, or Z block, wherever they are now in the show going forward until we see some resuscitation from Bailey Zappi in this offense. All right, now let's check in with Patrick Everson with Vegas Insider to talk about the latest Week 5 updates from Las Vegas. So I'm joined by Patrick Everson with Vegas Insider. He has been boots on the ground for Vegas with us and talking with other sports books and different odds makers. Now, Patrick, what's the vibe today? Did sports books make out with this today, or did the public end up getting their piece of the pie?
I would say it was some give and take. The odds makers got some pie and the public got some pie. And
everybody got to eat.
Everybody got to eat. In the end, maybe not everybody will eat. We'll have to, we'll have to see how the Sunday night game goes because a lot going to the Niners tonight. But there were a couple of games that were certainly good behind the counter. One odds maker pointed to obviously the Jaguars Bills. That was decent for the with the Jags pulling the upset, and a couple of other notable games, the Saints outcome, the Steelers outcome, and so forth.
Sure.
But then the public gets to eat because the Chiefs and the Eagles win and cover. So, and those are in moneyline parlays and all that, and which obviously tend to run to the favorite on Sunday night, especially when you have a great Sunday night matchup like the Cowboys and the 49ers.
Yeah, and it seemed like some really public sides were able to take it home. Like you maybe even the Dolphins, for example, the Chiefs as well, the Eagles. So that had to have been a much needed result for the public here now going into the San Francisco game, where San Francisco is leading by all accounts by tickets and handle.
Right, exactly. And all the money line parlays were going through, a lot of the money line parlays were going through Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers. And that was expressed by multiple odds makers this evening before the Sunday night game kicked off, that we're going to need the Cowboys, and not just to cover the short number. We're going to need them to win this game outright. So it's a lot like what happened in week 4, Gilles, when everything went to Chiefs Jets, and they wanted a Jets cover. They were really wishing for a Jets win and almost got it. And in some cases a cover was enough, but in most cases, so many money line parlays were tied to the Chiefs that the Chiefs just getting out of there with a W, the bettors did well and the books took it on the chin. And it's very similar scenario with how week 5 has unfolded in the NFL.
Well, and one game that I'm thinking of too is that Ravens-Steelers result, where it seemed like the Ravens pretty much had their foot on the Steelers' throat and then throws a costly interception and that turn. How was that from a result standpoint for the sportsbook? Did that pay out more for the public, or did the sportsbook take that on the chin too?
Absolutely a winner for the behind the counter. The Ravens were, look, there were a couple of books, including BetMGM, which was reporting a couple of hours before kickoff. A lot can happen in those last couple of hours before kickoff, as you know, but just a couple of hours before kickoff, BetMGM was reporting two-way play on the spread with a lean toward the Steelers. But those money line parlays and so forth were spread parlays and such were certainly running to Baltimore. Baltimore, a very popular team, public team, seemingly playing well, off to a really good start over the last few weeks. And then totally spit the bit today. So,
it was classic AFC North. It was probably the most AFC North game you could get, the most Steelers-Ravens game you could get probably since like a long time ago when you were basically having guys get hit way over the middle. I wanted to talk about the Monday game because Raiders are playing at home, hosting a very public team in the Packers, who may not necessarily be as public as when they were with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, but playing in Vegas, usually, when Vegas is playing at home, a lot of fans like to come in as well. Is that kind of how it's working for tickets and handle? Are we seeing a lot of Packers love on that front?
Absolutely. Certainly at the books here in Vegas and even nationwide. BetMGM sent out earlier Sunday. So look, as I've mentioned, the bulk of tickets and money comes in closer to kickoff. But snapshot from earlier today, it was 3 on the spread, 3-1 tickets and 2-1, almost 2-1 money on the Packers. And that's BetMGM nationally. I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers take more tickets and money here in Vegas than the Raiders do tomorrow. The fans are here in force. One odds maker told me earlier today from a Vegas book, he said our most bet game of the season so far in the NFL. You've got this great Cowboys-Niners matchup on Sunday night. We've had some other really interesting matchups, but the most bet game at that particular book was Steelers-Raiders, because the Steelers fans, they travel really well, as we all know. Well, the Packers fans really like to travel too, and it's probably already starting to get a little nip in the air in Green Bay. So they're going to come down here, and the weather is just absolutely marvelous. They are all over town. I was around town at 2 or 3 different sports books on this Sunday, and there were Packers jerseys and Packers T-shirts and Packers swag everywhere. They're going to bet it really well. I wouldn't be surprised, first off, if the Raiders fans are overwhelmed by Packers fans tomorrow night, if it's very loud for Green Bay on Monday night. And I wouldn't be surprised if even the Vegas books need the Raiders tomorrow night.
All right, let's get you out of here on this one, Patrick. Let's talk about week 6. A couple of teams right now might be seeing some early line movement, especially maybe some sharp action. For example, our Brandon Anderson with the hot read already looking at the Seattle Seahawks against the Bengals, also looking at the Colts against the Jaguars. From your POV, are you seeing any early action on those games as well? Is there maybe another game that we should be paying attention to for week 6?
Oh, I think that Seahawks-Bengals one is a really good one to look at for a couple of reasons. One, Joe Burrow seemed to kind of get it back today. He had a big connection with Chase, did a nice touchdown and so forth. So I think that's probably going to help sway some public opinion there. But Seattle has played really well after losing that home opener against the Rams, which nobody expected them to lose. They've gone 3-0 straight up and against the spread since that. They're coming off a bye week before they have to travel to this game. And one odds maker I talked with on this evening, this Sunday night, said this was one that they, on the look ahead, they opened at 2.5 last week, got bet up to 3, Bengals minus 2.5, got bet up to 3, but then bet back down all the way to 2. And then when they reopened this, or kind of formally opened this, I guess to say, for week 6 on this Sunday evening, and Cincinnati looked good against Arizona, they decided to open 3, and he said the market promptly went against us to get it back down to the look-ahead number, so 2.5. So there's some jockeying going on there, and probably some sharp jockeying early in the week on whether this is going to, land 3 or whether it's going to land 2.5. Perhaps the public is the one who settles up on this, and the public is probably going to back Joe Burrow off of this recency bias.
That's right, yeah. All right, beautiful stuff, Patrick. Patrick Everson, Vegas Insider. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk again next week.
You bet. Have a great week.
Thank you, Patrick. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. Enjoy Monday Night Football and keep an eye out for all of our NFL Week 6 podcasts right here on the Action Network.